Hi, welcome. I'm Linda Varos, and welcome to another recording here on Cosmic Circles. Today, I wanted to touch a little bit on another tool that you can use for awakening, expanding your awakening journey. And that includes expanding our intuition, which is a really important element. Our intuition is part of our higher mind. And if we're going to be working on the awakening journey, we really are making an effort to be more aware of ourselves as a soul having a human experience, not be so identified with this human vehicle that we came in to be, have the experience in. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about utilizing oracle decks on a daily basis to expand your intuition. So you may be familiar with people using divination decks, tarot decks, Lenormand, which I say that wrong all the time, and I don't know if I'll ever get it right. But anyway, there's a number of different types of divination decks. So, but I don't see an oracle deck being a divination deck. I see it as a guidance tool, and a guidance tool that helps your intuition to expand. So, if we're trying to communicate with our loved ones, who've crossed over, if we're trying to communicate with our angels and our guides to help us make decisions or help us figure out a problem that we're having a tough time dealing with, then, prayer is a wonderful thing and it's really important. But I feel like it's a separate tool. A lot of times when we pray, we're in a mode of, we're asking because we're in a place of need. And that puts that energy forward to the divine that we're communicating with, that we're in this not really a negative state, but it's a lower energy state. Everything is energy, all the way down to a cellular level. We're just energy in motion, just like everything in nature is, just like the entire universe is, just like the creation process is constantly in motion. And so for us to think that we're this solid, stable, separate organism doesn't make sense. It's not logical, because we're not. We're all interconnected with everything that is constantly in a state of movement. And so if we want to, tap into all of the resources and tools that are available to us as souls having a human experience, then we need to step outside the box and the way our mind thinks, and not be so identified with what our brain is telling us. We're supposed to be telling our brain what to do and not the other way around. But because it is pre-programmed, from my perspective, I see the human brain as being a pre-programmed tool, just the way a car comes these days, with pre-programming, make sure you don't back up into something and that sort of thing. The human brain is pre-programmed to protect the body and to keep the propagation of the species going. And so how can it do that? It can do that by keeping us from moving forward and into the area of the unknown. But as souls that we're these expanded energy fields residing in this vehicle, and it doesn't make sense for us to want to evolve if we're not going to move out of the past. Okay. And so what we want to do is have a bridge of connection between ourselves and the divine stream. I call it the divine stream of information, because that's where that's where creator and creation reside. And all of this information is available to us. We just have to figure out how to tap into it. Basically, we have to get out of our own way. And so one of the ways of doing that is by expanding our intuition. And so oracle cards come in very handy for that, because they can be a bridge that as a connector between us and the divine. So we're asking our guardian angels, we're asking our guides to communicate with us by giving us some information about how we should be looking at what we're experiencing, how we should be looking at what's happening in our day. They're really not predicting in a way. They are stepping ahead maybe a little bit, but giving us sort of a lay of the land. And so when you get an oracle deck, and I'll talk a little bit about the different decks and so forth in a minute, but when you get an oracle deck, the book that comes with it is really important. And so for me, yes, the visual images are important. We tend to buy by what we're looking at, but really it's about the description and what the description of the image. For example, let's see, I'm going to pick up this deck here, which is called the Energy Oracle deck. Okay, Energy Oracle deck. Sandra Ann Taylor is the author. It's a 53 card deck. Comes with this book. Now, the book is really important. And the book is really important because it gives us a description and the meaning of what came through the person who was developing the deck. Okay, so here's let's see, here's an image from this deck, and the Angel of Balance. Okay, card number 48. That's interesting because, well, it comes down to a 12, which is a divine number, but 48 is also relevant to, if you follow numerology at all, it's relative to working through some, karma and resolving it. So the Angel Balance 48, I'll read it to you. Now, not all decks are equal, and this is really important to note before you buy your deck. So 48, the Angel of Balance, being centered and self-honoring in your choices. So if we're assuming that the deck came out, the card came out of the deck in the upright position, you can shuffle them so that they're upside down, right side up, whatever, but you might end up with one that jumps out even and it's upside down. So it will have a description of what it means, whether it's right side up or upside down. Okay, now this deck, Angel of Balance, comes out and it says being centered and self-honoring in your choices. This loving presence holds a pitcher of liquid light in front of the pyramids, reminding you that a strong destiny relies on a solid foundation of personal balance and emotional equanimity. Although things may have been out of sync in the past, this card is telling you that a greater equilibrium is now coming into your life. Remain conscious about how you are balancing your goals and your physical and emotional energy as well. Whenever you feel yourself getting off center or losing focus, call upon this beautiful angel and bring her intention into your heart center. Your intuition will lead you in the right direction, and the angel will guide you to a peaceful and centered approach. Okay, so this is a wonderful, very descriptive guidance type of a message. Sometimes you will get a deck of cards, often actually, and they're beautiful images. But when you read the message, it's really simple. I can tell that the person didn't intuit that information. It didn't come through them. intuitively. It came through them, just maybe through their human thoughts. Now, not everybody knows what's happening when they're writing these decks, but something's prompting people to do it. And some people were prompted because this is what they're supposed to be doing. And some people were prompted because they want to do the artwork. And some people were prompted because they want to make the money, and so for me, I've purchased decks that I've been very interested in, but they haven't met the needs of really guiding me. Okay. So, and as a clairvoyant medium, I receive information from my guides when I don't ask for it. They pop in when they feel like it. I get it in my dream state. I might be struggling with a question, and then 2 days go by and pop, it comes in out of nowhere, and it's like this out of left field answer. But when I feel like I need specific direction and guidance, or when I'm trying, or when I'm advising somebody to expand their intuition, I ask that they get a oracle deck. And an oracle deck, I'd really advise you try to read a couple of the interior of the book. So I know that you can do that on Amazon. I'm not crazy about purchasing from Amazon all the time, because I nothing against Jeff Bezos, but it would be nice to make somebody else get the bulk of the money for what they're doing. If you can buy directly from the artist on their website, then they should be also giving you the opportunity to read what some of the descriptions are. Okay. But on Amazon, you do have that ability to read, I think, 1 or 2 things that are written within the book of the deck, so the description. So that's crucial to me. That's crucial. And so let me just put that out there. Then, of course, you want something that visually appeals to you. I mean, angels are very inspiring to me. I also have I have a bunch of oracle decks, but what happens is you get attached, or at least I have, to a couple of specific decks. I mean, I've had this energy oracle deck for many years because it's really well written. It's been guided, I can tell. Also, I have another deck that I really honor. I don't use it all the time, but I use it if I've hit a stumbling block and I feel I have a lot of many Native American friends. I have a lot of connection through my past lives and in this life through Native American culture and spiritual approaches. And so I was sitting in a bookstore. This is how sometimes a deck will come to you. I was sitting in a bookstore in Taos, New Mexico, a long time ago. And friends of mine were walking around looking, and I had looked at decks. I believe this may have been my very first oracle deck. And I was thinking, well, I read tarot. I have my tarot decks. I've never bought an oracle deck. I know the belief is that you should never buy your own deck, that somebody should buy it for you, even if that means you hand them the money and say, would you buy this deck for me? Okay. And that's an old world belief, and I don't know why, but I should by this time, but I don't. And in any case, I was sitting and I decided to sit down, take a break from walking around looking at all these books. And I sat in a chair that was right in front of a bunch of books. And when I sat down, this literally, it must have been maybe display or something. I don't even know how it was there. It fell off the deck behind me and landed on my lap. So I clearly worked with this deck for at least a year. It was the only deck I worked with other than my tarot that I use as a support system when I'm reading people, as an adjunct, not really support system, but an adjunct. So this had, look at the beautiful book that this came with. This is by Jamie Sams. And the artist is a separate artist from the author. And that's another thing that's interesting. I think it's good to find, if, you know, sometimes the artist is also, they're intuiting the art and they're intuiting the information. But it, you know, you can maybe skip over that step of finding some, you know, not finding the right description and interpretation of the meaning of what comes through by having a deck where there's a different artist doing the artwork and the other person is simply, you know, free to do nothing but interpret the symbolism for the deck. And so this is a beautiful fabric covered book. And, you know, the lettering on it is wonderful gold ink. And so these descriptions are in here along with like a little illustration of the deck. And it is very detailed. It's a couple, you'll see this, it's just one card. There's a couple pages of information in here. Very helpful. And it's a different approach. And I found it to be very, kind of supportive of where you are in your life journey and helping to explain, you know, helping to explain maybe why you are where you are from the Native American perspective of spirituality. So this is a wonderful deck. But the one that is now my go-to that I use, and I have gotten back on doing it daily again, and I'm going to explain to you how that works to expand your intuition. And that deck, ironically, it was written as a tarot deck, and it's called Spirit Song Tarot, okay, by Paulina Stuckey Cassidy. And I bought this deck because, number one, I know the artist. I mean, I communicated with her in the past, but we're both in the same couple of the same fairy books. You know, I was a published fairy artist back in 2007, 2006, the early 2000s. And Paulina is one of the other artists in the same books that I'm in. And so we kind of have all touched base with each other at some point. Some of us have met, you know, some of us are in England, some of us are in the United States, some are in England, we're in different parts of the world, but we've connected and that's been wonderful. So anyway, because I really appreciate Paulina's art, I bought this Oracle deck. Well, she wrote it as well as she intuited it, as well as, you know, doing the illustrations. And I have one deck I've used for as my tarot deck. Actually, I'm on the 4th version of the same deck, which I have used for, well, I've been reading for more than 45 years. Okay. And once I got trained on the weight deck, I didn't like the imagery. And so I went out and I found another deck, and it was the original, the first version of this deck, which is the Palladini, David Palladini deck. Now, he has since made another deck. I'm kind of getting off track here a little bit, which I can do, but bear with me for a second. But the reason I really love the Palladini deck is that he sticks pretty closely to the symbolism of the original weight deck. However, it's more simplistic, and that, you know, the images are meant to trigger your intuition. And of course, they have meaning and they have layers of meaning, and what's laid out next to what it has, you know, other brings other meaning to the reading itself. But the simplistic symbology, and I know this doesn't look simple, but I will tell you that to me, I just see the key points of it right away, and I don't need to sit there and try to figure it out, right? So anyway, I'm so accustomed to this that when this deck came as a tarot deck, I just couldn't adapt to the merger between this deck being a tarot deck and, for example, this is the Tower. Okay. Now, some of you that use multiple decks for tarot, you may be interested in using this deck for tarot as well. But for me, it was too far off a field from what I am accustomed to, and I don't want to think about it. I want to just see it, and so that this brain isn't working, and I'm allowing the higher mind and the connecting stream to come through. When you are doing Oracle for expansion, as I said before, the meanings and the interpretation of the card, there are everything. I have to give it to Paulina, because when she wrote this book, I don't think I've come across any other book or deck that I feel has been so channeled. The interpretations are so channeled that when you pull one in the morning, which is what I would advise you do. When you pull one in the morning, you're going to get something very clear. And it can also be uplifting and positive and guidance. So as an Oracle deck, what you want to do is you want to get a tablet, and you want to get up in the morning if you have time in the morning. If you don't have time in the morning, then do it in the evening, or do it when you have quiet time. But I love to do it for the morning because you can utilize it, but you can then follow the trajectory of how did this card impact your day? How did the meaning of this card play out as your day evolved? And so, what I do is I'll just write down the card that I pull in the morning. Now, if you're shuffling and two cards jump out, then by all means do two cards. But page here. Okay, so it's just my scribble, but I'll write down what card it was, and the date, and then I'll write down a very brief description, a very brief overview from this book, like just one sentence of what the point is that the card made, for the day. For example, I wrote, I had got the Two of Feathers the other day, and it said, unleash my energies to deliver a clear outcome and to have patience. Okay, so, that really made a lot of sense to me, because I'm coming from a couple of weeks where there was so much going on that, and I want to get this accomplished and that accomplished and that accomplished, but all these other things were happening and in my life that I also had to be responsible for and stay on top of. And so I almost felt like I need help because I can't get my brain to clear. And I did meet with a friend and go to, who was an advisor for me, and, helped me kind of narrow things down, which is exactly what I needed. But this nailed it, absolutely nailed it. It was, if you want to be successful, you've got to get clear on what your end point is. What is it you want to succeed at? What is it you're trying to accomplish this week that's really important to you? Focus on it, get clear on it. And so it immediately, I knew immediately what it applied to. And, another one was embrace your inner happiness and share in celebration with your loved ones. So, if you pick that card in the morning, you just write it down and then you go through your day. And somewhere in that day, you may have had the opportunity to either schedule an event with some friends and family that you might have normally said, I can't fit that into my schedule. I'm not going to schedule anything right now. I'm just too busy. But then you remember that you pulled that card. Okay. And so here's what happened. Then you listen to it. Okay. You listen to the advice and you follow through. Because what happens is so you go ahead and you schedule that meeting with loved ones that you would have put off. Okay. Because what happens is the universe gets the message. Okay. She is listening. And because she's following through on what we're guiding her. So tomorrow, her world, we're going to expand her world, and we're going to expand her intuition a little more. Okay. And it will happen incrementally as you continue to do this as a daily practice. It's a wonderful spiritual daily practice if you don't have one, because even though you're not, maybe lighting a candle praying for somebody, or you're not doing meditation, you are connecting. Your intention is to connect with that stream of information. And by opening that channel, basically, you're opening that channel of communication. And, I would advise at least a month of doing only 1 or 2 of the oracle cards at the most in the morning, because, you could sully it. It's like, well, maybe you want to go back to it to ask a question, and you start pulling out all these cards, and they may or may not align with each other because you don't understand what's happening or what's going on. Oracle cards have a really unique purpose. They are guiding you. They're not, it may be it's tapping on something that might be coming up later, that you're going to have a call from a family member that wants to go to dinner with you this week. So in a way, it is sort of foretelling your future a little bit, but actually what it's trying to do is give you the whole picture and the reason why you should do it, how you're going to benefit from it, what the outcome will be for you that's going to be beneficial and help you improve, help you expand, help you on your awakening path. Whereas, a divination deck, it can be, not necessarily is always this case. It depends on who's reading for you, or if you're reading for yourself, because reading for yourself is a whole other story, because we read into it. It's hard for us to be intuitive about ourselves. So, allowing this information to come to you without expecting it to have an outcome other than what's going to unfold in my day. Am I seeing something relate to this? Did I notice something relate to this today? And at the end of the day, you can make a little note. If you noticed something, just put a little asterisk and say, oh, Grandma Moses called me. My grandmother, Grandma Moses, called me, and she wants to go to lunch on Thursday. And, I wasn't going to do it because I'm busy, but guess what? This card told me that I should, go meet with Grandma or meet with my loved ones and my family. And there's a reason for that. And so I'm going to go meet with her for lunch. So I did that. I scheduled it. And on Thursday, you can make a note about how important was that lunch meeting? How did that go for you? Aren't you glad that you followed that message? And this really does open this channel more because you're trusting now. And on a subconscious level, your intuition is being allowed to come in, because we're getting bombarded with intuitive hits constantly all day long, but the blocks are up. Our human mind is so busy, we're not letting it come in. It comes in at a deeper level, and we have to have an open space for it to move forward and that to come through. So in this way, we are opening a channel and we're creating a space for the information to come through. If you if you have any questions about this, please, by all means, write them below. I'd love to see any information you have to share about your experience with using an oracle deck. And if there's other daily practices that you do that help expand your intuition and you feel like sharing it, I would love to see that. Okay, thank you so much for coming today. Please come back. I have a lot of wonderful guests coming, and we're going to be doing more guided meditations. So I'm looking forward to seeing you here. Please subscribe, please share, and thank you again. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey, one more thing I wanted to mention. I have a little format that you can follow for taking all the notes on your daily Oracle deck readings. And it's a free downloadable. So if you're interested in that, that's available, and I'll have it in the information at the bottom of this video. Okay, so just click on that, and I hope you can use it. It's a great thing to put in like a blank binder, print off some copies, and then you'll have, you know, something that you can track and utilize every day on your journey with intuition expansion. Okay, all right, thanks again for joining me. See you later. Bye-bye.